Wearing a jacket though. Calling to order the Monday, November 15th, 2021 regular meeting of the 38th Council of the City of Berkeley. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Here.
Councilmember Gavin.
Here.
Councilmember Hennon.
Here.
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Mayor Turbeck.
Here. Our first order of business this evening is the approval of tonight's agenda, at least the first agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved to approve.
Oh, I'll let Jack do that. All right. Motion made by Councilmember Blanchard with support from Councilmember Baker. Are there any changes or corrections? No, there are not. Seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on our first agenda?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Hennon.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Turbeck.
Yes. At this time, please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge. With us this evening, I believe, is Pastor Adam Groh.
Good evening. Let's pray. God, we thank you so much for this chance we have to come together for the good of the city. We ask your blessing on this night, and as we go into Thanksgiving next week, remind us of all that we are thankful for, of those around our table and those not. We're thankful for this council, their dedication to the city. We're thankful for this last election, for those who ran, those who won, and those even who didn't win. We're thankful for so many that have a passion for this great city. So we ask your blessing on them and their families. We give thanks for our public safety and our school teachers. We ask for safety and for wisdom for them. And ultimately, we give thanks for you, who the one is the one who gives us hope. And so we just ask your blessing on this night. Give wisdom and compassion and humility to the conversation, and let it be honoring to you. Praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please turn to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, we are moving to public comments. However, I want everybody to know there are no additional items on tonight's agenda other than the swearing in of the elected officials from the last election. Yes, correct. There will be another opportunity for public comments when we have convened the 39th Council. So if you would, I invite you to wait until that for your public comments. But it's entirely up to you. And again, and that includes recognizing Tim Renaud and Jack Blanchard. Those will both happen when the 39 Council is officially convened, just so there's no questions. With that, anybody want to run up to the microphone for the end of the 38? Excellent. So. Thank you. All right. We will move on to our order of business. First up, again, is the consent agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read the items on the first consent agenda?
1, approval of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the 38th City Council meeting on Monday, October 18th, 2021.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved to approve.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin, support from Councilmember Blanchard, really trying to get in his motions and supports.
Get on the record, buddy.
Any changes to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on the consent agenda?
Dean.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Hennon.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Blanchard.
Yes.
Turbeck.
Yes. Consent agenda has passed. We now move on to our regular agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 1?
Recognitions, presentations. Matter of any recognitions or presentations from the consent agenda.
Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 2, please.
Swearing in ceremony. Newly elected members of council to be given oaths of office by the city clerk.
All right. With your leadership and guidance, you will tell us when to come up and have a little conversation with you.
Okay, we will start with you, Mayor.
Okay.
I'll have you raise your right hand
Are you scared? Okay.
and repeat after me. I, Daniel J. Turbrack,
I, Daniel J. Turbrack,
being duly elected as the mayor of the city of Berkeley,
being duly elected as the mayor of the city of Berkeley,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
and that I will perform the duties of my office
and that I will perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
And next, we have Councilmember Baker. That's you.
Yeah.
I'll have you raise your right hand. I, Steve Baker,
I, Steve Baker,
having been duly elected as a council member of the city of Berkeley,
having been duly elected as a council member of the city of Berkeley,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
and that I will perform the duties of my office
and that I will perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Councilmember Hennan. And I'll have you raise your right hand. I, Dennis Hennan,
I, Dennis Hennan,
having been duly elected as a council member of the city of Berkeley,
having been duly elected as a council member of the city of Berkeley,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
and that I will perform the duties of my office
and that I will perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. I will have you raise your right hand. I, Jessica Villani,
I, Jessica Villani,
having been duly elected as a council member of the city of Berkeley,
having been duly elected as a council member of the city of Berkeley,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Berkeley,
and that I will perform the duties of my office
and that I will perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
All right. Good clapping. That is the end of our first agenda. So I want to let everybody know, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, we are going to take a brief recess, about 10 minutes, just enough time to get my kids out of here. There is some refreshments, and then we will reconvene the 39th council at 7:20. So we'll have a 12-minute recess. At this time, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Blanchard for the last time, with support from Mayor Pro Tem. Dean, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennan,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes, the 38th Council of the City of Berkeley is formally adjourned. Unfortunately, it's for me.
We get colder over here.
I was,
That is probably the worst thing you can do to me, quite frankly. We're the.
yeah, last meeting I was towards the end, I'm like, why am I so cold?
Do you have enough juice to make it?
Is,
No,
you,
I'm
is the
kinda
air
iffy
different over
too,
there,
so I may
Dennis?
have
I don't know yet. Okay.
Now we can't
Not
tell.
a large enough sample size yet.
Because if it is, I will move my seat actually over
That's
there
right.
and shift everybody else around.
We could arm wrestle for Natalie's seat. Yeah, that's probably.
she's got a good one.
I think you'd win, though.
see.
All right, is the team ready? Everybody ready to roll here?
Yep.
Tori, I assume we're good to go. Yep, everyone seems to be watching us. Okay. We're back. Calling to order the Monday, November 15th, 2021 regular meeting of the 39th Council of the City of Berkeley. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dean,
Here.
Councilmember Gavin,
Here.
Councilmember Hennan,
Here.
Councilmember Price,
Here.
Councilmember Valani,
Here.
Mayor Turbrack.
Here. Our first order of business is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Price with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Are there any changes or additions or corrections? Councilmember Hennan?
Just one comment on the Road Commission of Oakland County contract. What was in our packet had the incorrect dates, but we've all been sent the correct dates now, and so that one should be perfectly good to go.
Correct, thank you. And that's on the consent agenda, M6721, just for clarification for everybody. Any other changes to tonight's agenda? Corrections? All right, seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. We now move to public comments. Per our normal rules and procedures, these are public comments for items that are not included on tonight's agenda. You will have the opportunity to speak on a specific agenda item while it is being considered. Remember, council members will not engage you in discussion, but if your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or a department of the city, please sign in at the clerk's desk. For those of you that are attending with us in person, you will simply be able to step up to the podium, state your name and city of residence prior to making your comments. For those that are attending with us virtually, you can participants that are in the webcast can utilize the raise hand function by selecting Manage Participants on the bottom of your dashboard and selecting More in the bottom right corner. The moderator will call your name aloud and unmute you so you can speak when it is your turn. For those that have called in, you can be placed in queue for public comment by selecting *9. The moderator will announce the last 4 digits of your phone number for recognition. Again, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. After that, you will be muted. And we will also read comments that were emailed to the clerk at clerk@berkleymich.net prior to 5 p.m. today. At this time, we're going to start with public comments first for those that are with us in person. And then I will ask the city clerk to read anything that she has received, and then we will finish with the folks that are with us hybrid today.
Y'all know me, I'm Liz Petrie with Berkeley Cares Food Pantry. Just a reminder that we are taking names for any residents in need of a Thanksgiving box. Please let me know by email at berkeleycaresfoodpantry@gmail by the 18th. They'll be ready for pickup on the 20th. We couldn't do this without Berkeley, the residents. We want to thank everyone. It's actually overwhelming the support we've been getting. So those that are at home, go like this, light pressure. It's a socially distanced hug from us. So, and we need pet food. We still need supplies. Please continue to support us. We need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. If there are any recognitions, by the way, there are some very important people here, at least 2 that we're going to be recognizing. We'll do those in just a minute. This is outside of that as well, just to clarify. Okay. Ms. Mitchell, did you receive any communications to be read today?
Yes, Your Honor. Joel Alford, Berkeley, stated the city has paid more than $140,000 to HRC in the past 2 years for engineering services related to the sidewalk replacement program. He stated when reviewing prior contracts, a significant portion of the cost was related to contract administration and pay applications, construction, observation, and material testing. He wants to know if we expect these same costs in future sidewalk contracts. He stated he didn't see the cost in Section 3 of M6921 on tonight's agenda. The second email we received was from Joel Alferts, Berkeley, stated he would like a response from the city relating to an email exchange beginning in early October regarding a fence and grading issue to a neighboring property. He also asked if a notice to abate in conformance with Section 26-337 could be issued. He provided a summary of the ongoing issue. And that is all.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mathis, anybody visiting with us virtually with public comments?
Not seeing any hands raised at this time, but as a reminder, you can go on the Participants tab, select the Raise Hand function under the More option.
Give everybody a minute or so, just in case they're trying to get in.
Not seeing any at this time, sir.
Okay, and we will close public comments and we will move on to this evening's order of business. First up is our consent agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
1, warrant, matter of approving warrant number 1368. 2, resolution number R3521, matter of recognizing Tim Renan for his years of dedication to the city's seniors as he drove them to numerous appointments, meetings, and more, and continued this service throughout the pandemic until his recent retirement. 3, resolution number R3621, matter of recognizing Jack Blanchard for his service as council member for the city of Berkeley. 4, motion number M6721, matter of approving the 2021-2022 winter maintenance agreement between the Road Commission for Oakland County and the city of Berkeley. The city will be reimbursed a total of $11,393.46, which will be paid in 2 installments, $5,696.73 due in December 2021 and $5,696.73 due in March 2022.
And again, just for clarification, the fourth item on there is what Councilmember Hendon referenced earlier, that council has received the information that they were looking for there. With that, is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Hennon. Are there any other changes or questions? Seeing none. Ms. Mathis, are there any virtual questions or comments there?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Mitchell, then let's call the roll on tonight's consent agenda.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Tonight's consent agenda has passed. We now move on to our regular agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 1?
Recognitions, presentations, matter of any recognitions or presentations from the consent agenda.
We do have recognitions. We have 2 of them. First is Resolution R3521. We'll be recognizing Tim Renaud, and I have asked Mayor Pro Tem Dean to read the resolution.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, recognizing Tim Renaud for his years of service and dedication to Berkeley's seniors through Berkeley Parks and Recreation and Senior Transportation. Whereas Timothy Renaud began working for the city on August 10th, 2015 as a driver for the city's senior transportation program. And whereas over the years, Tim has developed strong relationships with staff, but more importantly, the seniors he drove weekly to appointments, meetings, and more. And whereas Berkeley's senior transportation program is an essential service to the city's seniors so that they can be mobile. And whereas Parks and Recreation and the city seniors have always been able to rely on Mr. Renaud for transportation, conversation and assistance whenever it is needed for this incredibly important service. And whereas Mr. Renaud's reliability and dedication was evident throughout the pandemic, when after a few months' pause in transportation, both he and our other amazing driver began to continue to provide transportation during critical but also possibly risky months and over a year into the pandemic. Whereas Mr. Renaud has made the difficult decision to fully retire and will be incredibly missed throughout the department and the city of Berkeley. Now therefore, the city resolves, Section 1, that the council of the city of Berkeley appreciates the effort, dedication, and selflessness that Mr. Timothy Renaud has shown throughout his time in Berkeley, and specifically over the last 20 months while driving and assisting seniors in the city. Introduced and passed at a regular city council meeting on Monday, November 15th, 2021. Daniel J. Turbrack, Mayor.
Tim, if you want to come up here?
Thank you so much. Oh, that's good to hear. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you. Would you like to say a few words there? Hop up there? And if not, there are certainly some others who would like to as well.
I wasn't sure what this was all about when Teresa asked me there last month to come to the city council meeting. I said, for what?
Yeah, it's not part of your normal Monday routine?
But you don't say no to the boss. I learned that early on. You people have thanked me every 2 weeks. I was getting paid for doing something fun. You got to make sure you keep this service up. I don't know how it operates. I don't know what magic it is, but it certainly helps the seniors and the disabled. And I'm sorry my back went out on me. I'd still be driving. Thank you to Teresa and Danny, two of the best bosses I ever had.
Oh.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Tim. Teresa, Dan, you want to come up here?
I think you can see why this was important, obviously for the service, but also like the resolution that Dan and I crafted together for the selflessness. And this is what makes Berkeley so great is employees like that. So we're going to miss Tim.
I will just follow up and say we're going to miss him so much. Tim has been an unbelievable employee. He's been so helpful. He is there when we need him. If we need him on a day he's not working, call him up. He'll be there. I can't thank him enough for all the work that he's put in, and we are going to miss him dearly.
Well, thank you, Tim, and I know you said that we thanked you, every 2 weeks, but I think you can tell by the emotion from everybody here, especially Teresa and Dan, who you worked with so closely, the impact that you had not only in doing what you were doing, but also just being the person that you were, and the selflessness that has been mentioned numerous times, and just the consistency and the care for which you provided, as you mentioned, an incredibly important function in our community. And I can promise you it's something that we are not going to be getting rid of anytime soon. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to find anybody like you, but might step down a little bit from the service perspective, but no, it is incredibly important. And thank you for everything that you've done for our community. Thank you, Tim. We have another resolution, R3621, a matter of recognizing Jack Blanchard for his service as a council member for the city of Berkeley. Jack, I pulled rank, and I'm going to read this myself, but you can, why don't you come up to the microphone there? You haven't stood there in a while. No, that's why we have Barb here. She'll handle the rebuttals. A resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, honoring Jack Blanchard's service to the City of Berkeley. Whereas Jack was born and raised in Sheboygan, Michigan, where he graduated from Pellston High School. And whereas Jack received his bachelor's degree in science from Southern Illinois University. And Jack and his family moved to the City of Berkeley in 1978. And Jack has been an active volunteer firefighter for the City of Berkeley for over 30 years. In 1995, Jack retired as a colonel from the United States Army Reserves after serving 30 years, in which 12 were active duty and 18 were in the reserves. Whereas during his time, Jack also worked for General Motors as an assistant chief engineer for diesels. Must be where he picked up all the stuff on specs. Whereas, outside of serving on the Berkeley City Council, Jack has been involved in many organizations, including Great Lake Captains Association, Oakland County Incident Management Team, receiving the Distinguished Service Award from the Michigan PTA, and receiving the 2017 Achievement Award from the International Armed Forces Council. Whereas Jack went on respectively to serve the community and do more than sit on City Council. In his 10 years as a council member, he served as liaison to the Berkeley Area Chamber of Commerce. He's been certified by the Michigan State Police as a professional emergency manager, leading him to be the emergency manager for the City of Berkeley. Jack's greatest achievements have been developing and implementing the risk emergency management plans, and he's been a strong force in making sure the practices and procedures are up to date and implementing training for the city staff along with police and fire to be familiar with emergency management as well. And whereas Jack will continue to volunteer as the emergency manager for the City of Berkeley after retiring from council. Now, therefore, the City of Berkeley resolves that the Council of the City of Berkeley, on behalf of all residents and staff, recognizes the many contributions of Jack Blanchard and his service to the City of Berkeley. As Jack retires from the Berkeley City Council, he will be remembered as a member who always found the right way to help others and was equipped with the specs and knowledge for every meeting in the last 10 years. Jack has been a prominent factor in helping the city staff become aware and trained for emergency situations. Jack will always be remembered as a council member who was reliable, a welcoming leader to citizens and council, an analyzer of the budget, and always getting the facts correct. Jack will be missed on the Berkeley City Council, but he will no doubt continue to remain at City Hall. And now, Barb, I don't know about this, but it says now more than ever. You may have some differing opinions there. Introduced and passed at a regular City Council meeting on Monday, November 15th, 2021, signed by me. Jack, come on up here. I miss you. You know what to do here.
Welcome to the council.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's hilarious.
Well, you know what, Jack? I'm not going to let you say anything yet. I'm going to let other people talk first, and we'll end with you. Before I allow council some time to reflect on Jack's role as a council member, anybody that's with us today here in person want to say anything about Councilmember Blanchard? Oh, we have a former mayor stepping up here.
Dignitaries.
Mayor O'Dwyer.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Phil O'Dwyer from the City of Berkeley. And I'd like, first of all, to congratulate those of you who are sworn in to serve our community. It's an important contribution, and I wish you well in that really important undertaking. Second, of course, I want to congratulate Jack Blanchard. 10 years ago, somehow Jack was persuaded to put forward his name for city council. And that was one of the great decisions of that council at that time. I was a member of that council, and we persuaded Jack. Jack is a man who is always prepared. He had the specifications on every minute detail of every engine, of every machine that we ever bought. Not only that, but he reviewed the footnotes for the specifications. So that level of attention to detail is an extraordinary contribution. And we relied on his insight. And I think that probably will continue going forward. Second, Jack was a man of vision. Jack thinks ahead. I remember on one occasion, Jack and I went fishing. It was about 90 degrees. We were in Jack's boat, and of course, you couldn't catch a fish at 90 degrees of heat. But Jack produced a little cup of tea on the boat. Well, at least he said it was tea. And so we enjoyed our boating. And on the way back, Jack thought, you know, we're going to be asked why we didn't catch fish. And so we stopped at a fishmonger. And we bought fish. And so when we arrived home, we were asked how'd the fishing go. Jack said, well, we got fish. The thing is, we were very selective. We only got smoked fish. And so finally, let me say, Jack Blanchard is a good and decent man. We are honored to be his friend. Jack, we wish you well. God bless.
Yeah.
I'm Darlene. Can I take it off?
Go ahead.
I'm Darlene Rothman. I'm the executive director of the Berkeley Chamber, and I should have Jack over here. Jack has been at more Berkeley Chamber board meetings, chamber chats, everything involved, and he was at our last official board meeting last week, and I started thinking, what does Jack do officially for the city, and what does he unofficially do for the city? Like, where am I going to see you or not see you? He's just been so integral in everything that I've been involved with working with the city, and you're going to be a big loss to everything. And although I say that, but I know, as we all know, Jack's going to be everywhere still. And I don't know if someone said a comment like, I'll see you tomorrow. And that feels like, you know, is probably what's going to happen for all of us. But Jack is someone I will ask questions to, because I'm not sure where to ask a question to. And he's always been with great direction and knowing in the background all the safety issues that are going on with the Woodward crews and everything that I would not know is what he was involved with. So again, I never knew which role he was always in at that, and so I'm still going to ask him questions, and helped with distributing the new resin packets. We're not on anything agenda except his personal trying to help the community, and he's just been great to everyone I know in the community, and I just congratulate you on your semi-retirement.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
Dignitaries continue. Former council member Colleen Gravelin.
Council, esteemed mayor, good to see you all again. It's jotted a few notes here about Jack. It's my pleasure to come up here and recognize Jack Blanchard. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Jack in a variety of different roles. Having once been on this council for a quick minute, I can attest to the spec. Studying, he sets a high bar. It was hard to keep up with Jack Blanchard. Not to scare you, Jess. It'll be great. I swear the man redid the math and the budget multiple times every budget season. It was impressive. If there's a job to be done, Jack Blanchard is going to do it. He's going to do it well. He's going to do it perfectly every time. Secondly, I'm sorry to rub it in, fellow citizens of Berkeley, but my family won the neighbor jackpot, pun intended, We have been Jack's neighbor for nearly 12 years now, and I have come to learn, pardon my bad grammar, but he can't not be helpful. He can't do it. The man cannot resist the urge to be helpful. I'm convinced it's a superpower. He appears just at the moment you need an extra hand, the perfect tool, the right way to do something that we were doing the hardest way humanly possible. But the greatest gift of being close to Jack Blanchard is watching his loving service to his wife, Barb, who is no slouch when it comes to service herself, having served for many years in many levels of the PTA. He's equally at the ready for his two sons that he proudly raised in Berkeley. And you want to see a joyful Jack, ask about his grandkids. He is the most generous grandfather you will ever see. We have been trying desperately to be adopted by the Blanchards for years. Not yet succeeded. And finally, I'm glad your kids left, Mayor. Any kids out there, please cover your ears, because I'm equally confident that he is indeed Santa Claus. The man literally makes toys in his basement. There is nothing Jack Blanchard cannot do. And the citizens of Berkeley and all of us here are better for it. Thank you, Jack Blanchard.
Thank you, colleague. All right. Members of council, we'll turn it over if any of you have anything else to say.
Of course
Mayor Pro
I
Tem?
do.
Sure,
Thank
okay.
you. What I learned from Jack Blanchard: details matter. Be prepared for every meeting. That means do your homework. Well, be collegial and pleasant. Jack has always been that in many and every situation that I have witnessed him in. And at the end of the day, it's always what's best for Berkeley. Thank you, Jack, for setting the benchmark for public service. And I was really going to try and do this without crying, but it has truly been my honor and privilege to serve with you. You will be missed. Thank you.
Councilmember Gavin?
Thank you, Your Honor. A lot to say about Jack. First and foremost, Jack, it's been a distinct pleasure to serve on council with you for the last 4 years. Even more than that, the real pleasure has been watching the way that you approach being a council member. There's no one more thorough, more invested, more meticulous, and thoughtful than Jack Blanchard. City of Berkeley has been incredibly fortunate to have Jack sitting on the council over the years. Jack's style isn't flashy. You work hard. You're a man of integrity. There's no self-aggrandizing. Just a fundamental care for the well-being of our community and for other people generally. Working behind the scenes, Jack always makes sure that everything runs smoothly, or at least is prepared if it doesn't, while everyone else gets to enjoy the given event that they're at. Jack's been a mentor to me, and more than that, a true friend. So I want to say thank you, Jack, and thank you even more to Barb for the commitment to Berkeley, and thanks for being that mentor and friend. So just rest assured that I will be calling you before every council meeting to get your thoughts on specs, and you'll always have a deep amount of respect, admiration, and a sense of gratitude from me for everything you've accomplished. Thank you, Jack.
Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jack, what can I say but start with a quote? Colin Powell once said, "There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure." Now, I know you haven't had much of that last piece of that sentence there, but I want to congratulate you on your tremendous service with the city and look forward to continuing to work with you. You bring a subtle, joyous sense of humor to your work, which I haven't heard that yet tonight. I mean, there's so many of the things that I've written have been already expressed quite more eloquently than I could. But I appreciate that subtle humor that you bring to things, which has been great. Your calm, steady voice is very reassuring and helping us stay focused. And also, I want to acknowledge your choice of mask wear today. You have a great reputation across the state. You're wearing your Michigan Municipal League mask today, and you've represented Berkeley very well at the regional and at the state level as well. So in addition to all the tremendous things that you've done here, you've helped to make Berkeley look that much better across the state with our neighbors. So thank you. I've learned so much from you, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to have served alongside you. Thank you.
Anybody else? You want to go again? Okay. Give you another shot. You jumped the gun last week, or 2 weeks
I
ago.
did jump the gun. I won't repeat what I said last week, and so much of what I planned on saying has been said. Like Ross calling you, Jack, for specs before meetings, I'm going to be working really hard to catch the typos at the level that you did in the packets. That'll be a fun challenge. But your presence, your calmness, the example that you set, the model that you set, you showed us through example how to be a good public servant, how to be prepared, and how to conduct ourselves. And I'm just so grateful for your mentorship. So thank you very much for your service. And I'll probably see you tomorrow, too. Thank you.
Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, and just I share a lot of the sentiments that have already been shared. I've always admired your level of detail, not just in specifications, just at every level on everything. The expertise you bring in emergency management, I've just in the short time I've been on council, I've seen our growth even in that area, and something that's often overlooked until something like a global pandemic hits, and you need to lean on those resources. So, it's bittersweet to see you go, but also reassuring to know you're still going to be working with the city and helping us on those ways, and it's truly appreciated.
Thank you. And Councilmember Villani, it's the first time I think I've had to say that.
I know, it's
had the
exciting.
opportunity to say that, I should say.
Well, I might be the new girl on the block, but certainly as a resident was even able to appreciate all that Jack did as a contribution to our city. And I am so thankful for your membership and support and guidance that you were able to provide to me as a candidate going through the process and sharing your wisdom. And it really meant so much to me to have that kind of support. And the fact that you cared so much about everything that would continue on after you and how you're remaining involved is just truly speaks to your care for the city.
Thank you. Well, Jack, Steve, and I both had the opportunity to serve all 10 years with you, and I can truly say that I watched you start as just a boy and grow into the man that you are today. It's just been tremendous to watch you mature over the years. But honestly, Jack, being able to serve with you gave me, all the residents and council members, just a front row seat to how an elected official should conduct himself or herself. And we went through some battles together, on the same side sometimes, on the other side sometimes as well. But every time we had conversations on any issue, you always had a pragmatic and principled reason for every decision that you made. And you stood by those decisions, sometimes to my dismay. And Barb, I don't know if he gives you an easier time, but doesn't necessarily change his mind super easily. But seeing your perspective is something that's incredibly important, something I'll always remember, Jack. And I'll tell you, this is just one of the reasons why I hold you in such high regard. But there's no secret. We're nonpartisan here, okay? We've always been that way. But if anybody's taking attendance, Jack and I do sit on opposite sides of the proverbial aisle. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. And it shouldn't be at the local level, but that factor was never, ever part of our conversations. And if anything, it gives me more belief that there's no reason that people cannot have conversations who may be opposed on some political level in terms of the party they belong to. There's zero reason why that should impact the ability for people to work together and govern responsibly with the sole intent of improving the lives of the constituents. And that was always your mentality, Jack. Always was. And I would support you if you ever decide to run for anything. I don't care what party you belong to. And if you ever want to get back in the battle, you just let me know. Find some ways. And Barb, I'm sure you probably disagree, but it's true. If Jack is not going to stop, and he's going to continue to work, and he's going to continue to volunteer because that's who he is, just like that's who he is at home with you. Berkeley's losing a champion today, at least on Mondays. But I know that every other day of the week, Berkeley's still going to have you, Jack. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done for our community, and thank you for what you will continue to do for our community. Without any further ado.
Well, thank you all for all those kind words. But I tell people, I said, I did the job. I did what anybody should do to do the job. it's a job that needs a lot of attention, and there's a lot of detail to it. So that's all I try to do. I was lucky enough to have had a good council to work with. I thank you all for your support. City manager, I thank you and your staff. Your whole staff has been very helpful. I could go to any of your staff, get questions answered, and they worked. Everybody works for the city of Berkeley, and that's all we're trying to do. So I'm very humbled of what you said, and I'll still be around, bugging everybody. Have you got your training done yet? You know? But now I'll have more time to bug you about that. But thank you all. It's been a wonderful 10-year experience. One of the things that I'm going to say is there's 3 of us in this room tonight that have been thrown out of the city manager's office, which is a unique experience. Yeah.
Previous. Yes, previous. We'll give you that.
Not the city manager, previous city manager, and there was a little bit of disagreement. So, we kind of have that bond with the 3 of us. So,
all been tossed.
Well, thank you all again, and I was glad to do it. I just thought it was time to take a little more time to do some stuff around the house and get more concentration on emergency management too. So, thank you, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Enjoy your Monday nights.
King joins us virtually. He'd like to say a few words.
Oh, certainly.
Chief, you're welcome to speak.
Thanks. Boy, it's kind of hard to follow that up because there's a lot of really nice things said. First of all, I'd just like to thank Jack on behalf of the Department of Public Safety for all he's done for us for 30 years and in my 4 years with the city. Been absolutely amazing, a great resource. And I don't know why everybody's sad because I'm actually going to be seeing him more. So I'm kind of the probably the odd person out. But we look forward to working with Jack. And I haven't okayed it with my boss, so hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble. But I'd like to formally announce that we're going to double his pay starting tomorrow. And I'm not an engineer, so maybe Jack can do the math for us and tell us exactly what that is. So thanks again, Jack. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Mathis, I'm sorry I got rolling there. Any other virtual comments with us? Uh-oh. Look good, Chief. Just stay there. Don't do anything bad right now. Keep those hands down. There we go. Okay. All right.
Sorry about that technical difficulty. No worries. I am not seeing any other hands raised at this time, but I'll give everybody a moment if they're willing. Nope, seeing none.
All right, sorry, Jack. We made you stay a little longer. Now you're officially free if you'd like to be. Thank you. Thank you. One more time. All right. With that, Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 2 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M6821, matter of appointing Mayor Pro Tem from November 2021 until November 2023.
Is there a motion to appoint a Mayor Pro Tem?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Gavin. I guess you can support this at this point right now. Mr. Baumgarten, do you have anything to add here before we nominate here?
Mr. Mayor, just a process note. The term of Mayor Pro Tem also runs consistent on a 2-year basis. Each council member is elected to a 4-year term, but this term restarts with each of the swearing in of a new council. So the Mayor Pro Tem will serve for the next 2 years as indicated in the motion. Past practice has been to opt to award that position to the individual who received the most votes in the election previous to the one that brought in the new members of council. So that has been your practice in the past.
That would mean that Bridget Dean would continue. I can't say Mayor Pro Tem and then Mayor Pro Tem would continue on as Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion from council? Here's your gonna be okay.
Can't do better.
All right. Thank
Sure,
you.
are you sure you want this? Because I really plan on taking the next 2 years off.
I'm ready, yes.
Okay, all right, perfect. Any virtual comments, Ms. Mathis? I'm gonna remember to do that now.
None that I see at this time, sir.
All right. Ms. Mitchell, then would you please call the roll on M 6821 with Bridget continuing on in the capacity of Mayor Pro Tem?
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 3?
Public hearing, matter of holding a public hearing regarding the Community Development Block Grant Program Year 2022 application in the approximate amount of $37,117 to fund eligible projects.
All right, I will declare the public hearing open at 8:01. Any comments for the public hearing? If you're in person, please come up to the microphone. If you are with us virtually, Ms. Mathis will call you. Nothing on the public hearing,
Bring
Jack?
on, Jack.
Nothing?
He's really leaving.
You know it's in good hands.
Ms. Mathis, anybody virtually like to comment on the public hearing?
I'm seeing no hands raised at this time, sir.
Is that yours? That's Dan's.
Good eye.
Good catch. Anybody here? Any comments for the public hearing? All right, seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing at 8:02. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 4 tonight?
Resolution number R3721, matter of adopting the Community Development Block Grant Program application for the 2022-23 program year.
Is there a motion to approve R3721?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Baker,
Support.
with support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Community Development Block Grants, or CDBG, as we often use the shorthand for, is a federal program that is administered via Oakland County. In our particular situation, the city of Berkeley is small and doesn't have all of the boxes checked to receive a direct allocation, but Oakland County has cobbled together a program that benefits the city of Berkeley as well as many other communities in which we pool our non-entitlement funds and do wonderful things within the city. It is, as I said, largely administered through the county, but locally here, it is a collaboration between the Community Development Department and the Finance Department as well. So that is why you see in your packet not only a resolution, but a memo outlining in detail how the city intends to allocate those federal dollars. And that was authored by Ms. Schluto, who is with you this evening.
Director, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to highlight, good evening, everyone. I just want to highlight the 4 projects that we have allocated the funding for. As the resolution states, we are projecting to receive $37,117 from HUD this year. So the 4 projects we're allowed to program for 4 projects. The first one, as you'll note, is remove architectural barriers. That is a sidewalk replacement, and I've communicated at length with our Parks and Recreation Director, and we programmed some money for that last year, and so we're going to continue to fund for the sidewalk replacement to be ADA accessible for all persons in our parks. So this amount here, the $25,982, will go towards replacing the sidewalks in Community Park. Second one is public services, $4,135. That's yard services for snow removal for senior citizens within our community. That has been a highly successful program, and we want to continue that for our residents who need them. And that is also facilitated through Parks and Rec. Number 3, public services is labeled disabled services, and this is how it's labeled through the Oakland County program through HUD. So this is not just me naming it this way. $3,500, that's the minimum threshold for any one project, and this goes to the public library to purchase large print books. That's been a very successful program, and we want to continue funding that as well. And number 4, public services, battered and abused spouses, $3,500 that goes towards Haven, which is an Oakland County program to educate and provide counseling for victims of domestic assault, domestic violence, stalking, sexual assault, etc. So those are the 4 programs that we have programmed for the fiscal year. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions for Director Schluto on the CDBG? Councilmember Baker?
Thank you, Your Honor. No questions, just the compliments to you and the staff for bringing this to us here. These are 4 incredibly important programs that that provide a great service to our community. I know we have great representation from our Parks and Rec team here with those items, and of course sidewalks are important to ensure that they're safe for folks to cross. And then of course in the past we've had presentations from the folks from Haven to come here and share with us the haunting and disturbing need for such service. And so I'm exceptionally pleased with all 4 of these, and it's hard to highlight any one of them in particular. But that one just strikes an emotional chord for me, so I'm very thankful for you ensuring that this remains on the docket for yet another cycle. Thank you.
And if I may, I did reach out to Haven because they have historically spoken at these meetings. This one's moved up a little bit earlier in our usual, it's usually a December meeting, but they are so inundated with work right now that they were just not able to attend.
Right.
But they thanked us they thanked you all for consideration and continuing to donate and to provide funding for their valuable services.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the CDBG? No, as Councilmember Baker so eloquently stated, even though he said he was not so eloquent early on, I disagree with that. These are incredibly important, and a number of these we are able to support every single year and continue to make improvements and changes and help those that we can. So I think we continue to do a great job of programming the CDBG funds, you and certainly the Parks and Rec as well, and everybody else that's involved. And with that, Ms. Mathis, are there any virtual comments on CDBG funds?
I am seeing none at this time, sir.
Okay, Ms. Mitchell, then would you please call the roll on R 3721?
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Would you please read item number 5, Ms. Mitchell?
Resolution number R 3821, matter of adopting the Berkeley Master Plan.
Is there a motion to approve R 3821?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin,
Support?
support from Councilmember Villani. Mr. Baumgarten?
Mr. Mayor, it is with great relief that we bring this forward to City Council for your consideration. If you'll think way back to what feels like a very several decades ago, but it was not. Just in the context of the time that it took us, we began this process of outlining a vision for the future of our community. You'll hear in just a moment an encapsulation of all that happened to get us to this point this evening. But the underlying factor in all of it is the hard work of Community Development Director Schluto, as well as Ben and Megan, numerous staff, and a fantastic planning commission, a master plan steering committee. Many hands brought this forth to you through some of the most difficult and challenging times that probably in all of our lifetime. So it is with great pride and great exuberance that we present to you this evening the city's master plan.
Okay. Who's going to drive this?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Good evening. Do you mind if I remove my
You can
mask?
remove it
Thank
there,
you.
yeah, I think you're
Appreciate
safe
it. It's certainly hard to follow the 2 resolutions we heard for that many years of service from those 2 gentlemen, but it's really apropos to what the process that we had and how much dedication this community gave to the future of Berkeley. My name is Ben Carlisle with Carlisle Wortman Associates. With me tonight is Megan Maslick-Minnock, also from Carlisle Wortman Associates, and we are proud and honored to be in front of you today. First off, I want to start and say congratulations to Mayor Turbeck, Councilmember Baker, and Councilmember Hennon on the re-election, and welcome to the new Councilmember Valeni. I look forward to working with you all in the future. As Mr. Baumgartner Baumgarten started, if you would have told me 2 years ago that we'd be here today in front of you 2 years later, I wouldn't have believed it. It's been a long process. It's been a really valuable process, and it's been an insightful process.
Probably a little different process.
It's been a different process. We've never done something like this, and changed on the fly, to be perfectly honest with you. But we're here really because of the dedication of both your residents, your staff, and perhaps most importantly, the volunteers that helped us with this process. And we owe a lot of thank yous. So Aaron, is Tori? Tori, can you go to the next slide real quickly? Thanks. So if you don't mind, it's been a 2-year process, but I want to spend 2 minutes of giving thanks.
It's almost Thanksgiving. Go ahead.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank your steering committee. When I say literally, I do mean literally. They spent hundreds of hours on this process. They participated in 16 meetings over the course of 2 years. They were our sounding board. They were our visionaries, and they really were the community representatives throughout this planning process. And I cannot stress the dedication of this group and the tireless work that they undertook to get us to this point. Secondly, I do want to thank the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission had a very, very active role in this as well. There were at least 6 meetings that the Planning Commission had special meetings to move this process forward. There was one person that was at all 22 of those meetings, and that was Councilmember Gavin. So I want to give a personal gratitude to the councilmember for his commitment to this project, and he really was kind of the bridge between the council, the Planning Commission, and the steering committee, and so his insight was totally valuable during this process. And third, I want to thank your city staff. We work in a lot of communities, but I've never seen a staff as dedicated and committed to this city as what you have. You have a very, very great staff. I want to personally thank Erin. It's bittersweet. She's leaving because she was so excellent to work with.
What?
Oh no, was I not supposed to say that? She's been tremendous and really was kind of the glue that held all of us together moving forward. Unfortunately for you, she's leaving. Luckily for us, we get to continue working with her because we also work with her in Canton. So it's bittersweet for us to leave her working here. I also want to thank Tori Mathis from your city as well. She was kind of the jack of all trades and did literally everything for us that we needed. So she was so tremendous to work with. And also Dan Hill from the manager's office was tremendous and did kind of a lot of the behind the scenes grunt work that you didn't always see. And lastly, I want to thank your city manager. Matt's leadership through this process was completely invaluable. And there was a few times where I called him up and just kind of said, am I committing political suicide by suggesting this or not? And he talked me off the ledge a few times. But I really do appreciate his responsiveness and guidance throughout the process and couldn't have done without him. And lastly, I want to thank your residents, your business and property owners and the other stakeholders because their input to this whole process certainly was extremely valuable. It's your plan, and I hope you're proud of it because really, this really did come from your community. When I interviewed 2 years ago, or I mean, it was 3 years ago at this point, I don't know how long it was, there are 2 things I said to you that I wanted to carry out throughout the process. And the first was that there would be tremendous engagement and community input through this process. And I think there was. It was a curveball. I've never had to plan during a pandemic. I've never had to have engagement through a pandemic. But your guidance, your leadership, your staff's willingness to work with us, and really, frankly, on my behalf, and my staff, Megan, was completely supportive and helped kind of move this process and get the engagement. And the second thing was we would build consensus. If anyone followed the process, was part of the steering committee, part of the planning commission, they may not agree with everything that comes in this plan, but there's a context and understanding of why it's in there, and we can justify everything that's in this plan. Everything has been vetted by stakeholders, multiple stakeholders, and there are no surprises in this plan. There's justification and context for everything that we've done in here, and everything that came in this plan came from your stakeholders, your residents, your business owners, your property owners, et cetera. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erin, and she's going to go into a little more detail about the plan. But thank you again. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Ben. I certainly appreciate that as well.
Third slide is all you.
Oh, okay.
It's his favorite quote. Tori?
Tori, you want to go to the next slide? So if there is a famous planner, if there is one, it's Daniel Burnham. And if there's a famous quote, this is his quote: "Make no little plan, they have no magic to stir men's bloods." They're laughing because actually this was a quote in my wedding that was read. So it's a little cheesy. My wife's a planner, my dad's a planner, and her dad's a planner, so it would kind of fit well. We're kind of planning the marriage. So, anyways,
When I did the presentation, it just
it's cheesy, but I thought it was appropriate that we put it in here. So, thank you.
Hello again, everyone. So the rest of the presentation is really to kind of show not only I mean, you've been through the process along with us every step of the way, but also for the people at home who maybe haven't been. So one thing that was communicated multiple times through multiple contexts was, what is a master plan and how is it different than a zoning ordinance? And this is a graphic that's taken directly from our master plan because it is so important that in all the conversations that I had, there was a lot of confusion between the plan of it versus the law of it. Where the master plan and the zoning ordinance come into play and how they work together, but how different they are. So I wanted to draw attention to this just to make sure that, you know, it was highlighted that this is the master plan, the zoning ordinance component comes next. They work together, but you can't have one without the other. So in the master plan, one of the great quotes is, "The city's roadmap for the best path from a known present to an unknown future." So that's where we're heading. We don't know where we're going. I mean, the last 2 years will tell us that. So the master plan will give us the guidance on how we can move forward. Tori? So in creating and drafting our master plan, we have to follow the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. So these are the requirements at its most basic, pared down level of what we have to do. So we have to send an intent to plan notice to adjacent communities, to Oakland County, reviewing agencies like SEMCOG, MDOT, and public utilities, just letting them know, hey, this is what we're doing. We did that. Public engagement. We're required to have at least one. You will see on the next slide, we did a lot more than that. The legislative body, City Council, approves the distribution of the draft plan to adjacent communities, utilities. Everyone that we notified that we were intending to plan, they get to take a look at the plan. Not only that, it's an opportunity for the public at large, our residents, business owners, stakeholders, to look at the plan and see what they think. Required 63-day period for the open public comment period. We've done that. We reviewed all the comments that we received. All those were funneled over to the Planning Commission. We discussed them at length with them during one of their regular meetings. From there, the Planning Commission holds a public hearing and recommends adoption to City Council. That's where we are. Tori? So, and this is just to give you an idea of the timeline. Again, this comes right from the master plan itself. So you'll see where we started. December of 2019 is when we started everything. We planned to plan. We had a great meeting with council, members of the steering committee, planning commission, and put sticky notes all over the wall, I recall. Just, you know, what was important to us, what we wanted to see in this plan. So we were starting to go through the public engagement. Like Ben mentioned, we had a really robust, in-depth, face-to-face, get-to-know people community engagement strategy. We really wanted to go to them. You know, too many times we hold public hearings or public meetings and people don't come to us. So we decided at the very beginning we wanted to go to where you were. However, as you can see from the big pink line, the pandemic hit. So that really changed everything. However, when everything started to slow down and shut down completely, we had a number of conversations of, do we want to pause the plan itself and just wait for this to subside? Or do we want to reconfigure, recalibrate, plan on the fly, and do something different? Luckily we did, because we did not realize how long we would be in that pause period if we had stayed there. So we really only lost a couple of months from our overall scope and timeline that we had originally adopted when we started this process. And I'm really proud that we were able to move forward in something as wonderful as we've done, and all the engagement that we have done. Tori? This is a summary of all of the community engagement that we've done. As I said, we're only required to do one. We did many more. So when we were starting to meet in person, we were doing drop-ins at PTA meetings. We were going to all the advisory boards. We were really starting to generate some movement, and we were getting a lot of buzz on social media. We were going to go to all the public events, community events that are held throughout the summer. When those things didn't When those things couldn't happen anymore, we really pivoted to an online-based format. So we did an 8-part webinar series, which are still available on YouTube, and we looked at a specific topic in depth for about an hour and a half. And it was parking, it was housing, it was transportation, infrastructure, the things that really make up the bones of our plan. We wanted to make sure that we could have those large in-depth conversations with our residents. From there, we also had drop-in Zoom meetings. So if you weren't able to attend the webinar, you could come the next day and ask questions about it and watch them later. Corridor walking tours, we had one on 11 Mile, we had up on Greenfield, 12 Mile, and Woodward. So members of the steering committee, members of planning commission, we walked the corridors to really see what these parcels look like. Because you can look at a map, right, all day long. But if you're not looking at it on the ground, you may not really put it into the same context. So we were able to do those, and those were a really good eye-opener for how we were planning. Additionally, we had the virtual open house, and then the master plan steering committee meetings, planning commission work sessions, and then, of course, the required 63-day public comment period. Now, what we did on top of that was we put public comment boxes. So each city hall facility or city facility had a public comment box in addition to the master plan that was out there. So if someone was interested, hey, what's that? They can look at it and they could leave a comment box if they wanted to. We didn't get as many comments there, but we did get a lot via email, so that was still a worthwhile success. So we heard what you said. You know, these were just a couple of slides of where we were able to pull the public comments from. So we heard what everyone was saying. We put together all of their comments, and this is where it meets the, gave us the backbone for the plan itself. Tori? And so we crafted Berkeley's vision, Berkeley's mission, and Berkeley's values. And these, again, come right directly from the plan. So this was vetted from the Planning Commission, the Master Plan Steering Committee. Berkeley will be a thriving 21st century municipality rooted in strong neighborhoods and a walkable design, supported by a caring community that helps every resident, business, and visitor to flourish. That's very important. I mean, those are things that we heard repeatedly from everybody who engaged with us during our community engagement sessions. Tori? Berkeley's mission. Berkeley will strive to enhance economic vitality, preserve neighborhoods, and foster progress to implement the city's vision and values. Now those are two major things that we heard from the public as well. They wanted to enhance the economic vitality, they wanted to have a robust and engaging downtown, and they also wanted to preserve their neighborhoods. So those are two very vital components that people were very, very passionate about during all of the engagement. Tori? And finally, Berkeley's values. Berkeley is caring, Berkeley is innovative, Berkeley is welcoming, and Berkeley is active. So these are things that people really keep to the core of what they feel Berkeley is. They want it to be welcoming, they want it to be active, they want it to be everything for everybody. Tori? Okay, now Megan's gonna go through some key takeaways from the plan.
Thanks, Erin. And I just want to echo what Ben said. It's been a pleasure to work with your staff, to work with the steering committee. They put in a lot of hours and a lot of thought and a lot of discussion, and also your planning commission. And we're really honored to bring this plan to you here tonight. I wanted to take a few moments and hit some key takeaways and in a lot of ways why this plan is different than the plan that you currently have, and things as council members that would now be in your toolbox to move that mission, vision, and values forward. If you could advance to the next slide, please. Thanks. One is there's a lot of time in the plan about corridors, specifically 11 Mile, 12 Mile, Coolidge, and Woodward. Treating your downtown, and your downtown's gotten a lot of attention, but those other pieces of Coolidge and 12 Mile haven't necessarily, and also Greenfield. And so you'll notice that there's not only land use plans, and for each different type of land use, like industrial and retail, which is stripped around, is on the western side of 11 Mile, that has its own page with its own graphics and its own things in terms of what the land use should be, what the land use is, and what it's envisioned to be, and how you do that. But then also, there's a whole chapter that's just on corridors that talks about each one of those places in specific and what should be happening there, and gives actual visual tools of what it is and what it's envisioned to be. And that actually is best demonstrated on the next slide. And as you can see here, this is a vision of what could happen on a parcel on 11 Mile with an existing building. And this is just by putting a new facade on it. But they're also really emphasizing the plan that there are things that the private sector can do. And that is highlighted in orange. But there are things that the public sector or the city of Berkeley or maybe federal grant money can do. And so highlighted those in those graphics to really show that this takes a lot of things moving together in coordination to bring that vision forward, and wanted to have those encapsulated in the plan, not only about each place, but also about each land use. Another major theme that we heard that is in here in some ways is walkability, and then also planning for seniors and aging in place. And so looking to that to be in all your places, and especially universal design in looking for new housing where those universal design principles can be applied outside and inside, and so that anybody can get anywhere within a space, whether it's inside and whether there's a lift for where you're in the entranceway between the door, or whether that's 0 for a stroller or a wheelchair to get through, but that applies the same principles to also your sidewalks, and what the ramps are like for the side to get down to the sidewalks to the street level. And so we heard very clearly from your constituents that walkability and that it's welcoming for all ages, and especially seniors. It felt like a lot of people were having to leave the community, but it's a tough problem that a lot of communities are facing, and there's a lot of tools to be in that. And so we wanted to have those encapsulated into the plan. Next slide, please. The other thing we heard over and over was sustainability. And these graphics on green infrastructure, not only in your parks, and that was emphasized also in your Parks and Rec plan, which we also had the pleasure of being part of, but also where green infrastructure could go in a streetscape, as shown here, in whether if you were redoing 12 Mile or Coolidge, that these type of green infrastructure projects could be incorporated into any new sidewalk design or any new road design. And setting it up so that those tools are there, so when applying for money or looking to change engineering standards or ordinances, that again, you have that basis in the master plan to move those things forward. Next slide, please. Another thing that we were asked to do as part of this is to help visualize things that the city had been planning on and hoping to come that hadn't come. And one of the examples of that is Greenfield. Greenfield had been planned for, I think, since the early 2000s to have multiple family on it, maybe in a larger scope, but that had never developed. And also that was something that was very controversial when we talked to your residents about it. And really valuing, again, preserving those neighborhoods and how the character of those neighborhoods would that type of development change. And so this graphic here on the one side shows all the steps that would have to happen for this concept plan to happen. And so including, there has to be the assembly of parcels. Every private property owner would have to agree to that sale. It has to go through the city, through all your permitting process. And usually, this type of development takes 2 to 5 years in order for it to happen. But what we found helps developers is to be able to see it, and then also see the character. And also on this page, it shows the type of housing and the scale and size of that housing that should be on Elwood, and how that should be much different than the size and scale that would be on Greenfield. And really want to thank also your steering committee, who were very much part of trying to define what those appropriate characters were. Next slide, please. The other thing we wanted to highlight is in the future land use plan. You can see on this plan there's some gray areas that are behind the different corridors, but it's not a solid stripe behind. One of the things in that plan-to-plan meeting when we were back here 2 years ago was talking about parking lot expansion, and how that's a chicken and egg situation with redevelopment along the corridors. In many discussions with the Planning Commission and also with the steering committee, decided that what should be put on this plan are areas where that could happen. Again, I'm going to emphasize the could, and that is a signal that it would be appropriate to talk about this. And so that's that gray. And it's called potential corridor expansion, traditional buffer, and there's more language, 1 page on it, about what that should be and what that could look like. And that's a major change in your future land use plan. We wanted to bring that to your attention as you were going through your deliberations tonight. Next slide, please. The final thing that we want to highlight for you is the implementation matrix. And your last plan didn't have this. Many plans have it and some don't. But again, talking to your steering committee, staff, and planning commission felt like something like this, where it says a strategy, the priority, the time frame, and who's responsible, is something that's useful in order for the plan to be implemented and in order for it to keep going. And so it's not a document that sits on a website or gets dusty on the shelf. This is intended to help that every budget cycle, every time your planning commission has to give their annual report, every time they have to do a work plan, every time your community development director is asked, hey, what are you doing in the next 6 months? This is something that they can go back to. Next slide. We had a number of, we were in front of you in July, asking you to, can we go out to the rest of the communities? And at that point in time, we got a lot of comments from the public as well. And also comments from the adjoining municipalities, and all of them were almost overwhelmingly positive. But there were spelling errors and there were grammar errors, and I'm sure former Councilman Blanchard would have found them as well. And I want to thank the folks. I know that there are some folks in the room who found them for us and let us know. Also, the Planning Commission asked it, we look really, and this was spurred on by a resident comment, look at the shall versus the should and versus the may. Because the shall means you have to, the should means you ought to, and the may means, well, maybe that'll happen. And on a plan, it's a vision document, and so the shoulds, usually what goes on, but there were a couple things where it really was a shall, because I'm sure if your city attorney had looked at it, he would tell you that, yes, that's a requirement, and so that's a shall. We also expanded that discussion on the Greenfield concept plan. It didn't have that box that was on the side showing the process. It actually had given some people some heartburn to say, like, oh, you're going to make this happen, and no, the intent is that this is what could happen if everybody agreed to it. And so we're directed by the Planning Commission to make that very explicit. And also to provide some more details on how to use that implementation matrix. So those are the big changes that happened in between when you saw it in July and now. Next slide, please. As Aaron had said, we had the Planning Commission public hearing. There was very little comment, and what was there, it was positive. They had a unanimous recommendation to you, and so the next step is for you to look and deliberate as to whether you would like to adopt this as it's presented, whether there are some changes needed, et cetera. And we would be happy to take any questions that you might have at this time.
Well, thank you, Megan and Ben. Obviously, this was not the intended process back when we talked at the end of 2019. And Aaron and the staff, and certainly the steering committee and the planning committee and our residents being able to finding a way forward, to not just stop the process, because you know as well as I do, if we would have stopped, we probably would still be stopped. And being able to continue and have such important discussions and get so much feedback from not only our residents, as you mentioned, the neighboring municipalities, the agencies that we reached out to, and to be able to be here today and doing it almost 100% in a virtual setting was a dramatic undertaking for everybody involved. And I really want to thank everybody for being flexible, being able to pivot, to get us to where we are today. And again, I want to thank the steering committee again for their volunteer time and the amount of meetings. You mentioned 16 meetings over 2 years and various other I'm sure, conversations and emails and questions. The Planning Commission, their role, Councilmember Gavin, certainly your attendance in all of that, and the city staff. Again, we wouldn't be here today being able to talk about what a great plan we have, and you talked about those mission and vision and values, and all of those are very succinct Berkeley. That is exactly what we want to be, who we have been, and what we want to continue to focus on, I guess, as we move to the future. Before I open it up to questions or comments from council, I do want to, Tori, we'll start with the folks that are visiting hybrid in case anybody has any comments, and then we'll move to anybody else that's here and council to get some additional feedback before we vote.
Sure. As a reminder to everyone, if you under your participants tab, select the more button and the raise hand function, or if you turn off your video, you can raise your hand like that and we'll call you.
Well, because I just kind of put you on the spot there and you did a great job. In case people come in, we'll kind of go a little bit more of a back and forth here. Council, I'll open it up to you or anybody that's with us as well that would like to comment. Councilmember Gavin, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an exciting day. Have a new master plan come before us that helps lay out our desires as a city and as a community and where we see ourselves going. I certainly want to thank Aaron, Megan, Ben, and the Steering Committee, Planning Commission for the extraordinary effort that was put into this process. As was mentioned, certainly an unconventional one that did yield a lot of great public feedback and participation and really created a document that I think we can be proud of. So thank you all very much for that. And I'm especially thankful for what I do believe are sound strategies and thoughts on how to improve green infrastructure, energy efficiencies, and environmental footprint. So thank you again, and thank you for everyone that was involved in that.
Thank you. Thanks. Additional comments from council? Councilmember Villani.
So I was able to follow this process as a resident, so I'm really excited to be here for the adoption. And like to echo Councilmember Gavin's sentiments, I'm really excited about the focus on green infrastructure and programs, sustainability. Really can't wait to see some public EV chargers even going in downtown areas, so that'd be great. And then I'm also just really looking forward to see how those gateway corridors shape up as they can just really enhance the overall appeal of our city.
Thank you. Additional comments? Councilmember Hendon?
Yeah, overall, I'm very pleased with this plan. It has an excellent attention to detail, realistic goals, and incremental change for us to adapt to the future, but without losing our small town character. And I also wanted to echo the commendation for the staff, the consultants, volunteers, and the public for just adapting to this challenging situation, and still us being able to get a lot of good feedback on it. There are a few parts of the plan that I don't entirely agree with, but anything this complex, I think it's going to be unreasonable, that everyone agrees on everything. I think we discussed, that was mentioned, but I don't find these problems fatal. I'm fully in support of this plan.
Thank you. Additional comments from council members? Councilmember Price?
Yes, I want to echo the gratitude for the flexibility, the adaptability. You guys pulled off an amazing thing over the last 2 years. I did want, was wondering if Director Schluto or Megan, if you'd be willing to expand a little bit on the, one of those corridors. The corridor changes on 11 Mile between Greenfield and Robina. One of the things that I wouldn't have been able to foresee 2 years ago is how just across the road, Oak Park has changed so much with their water tower district. And I saw that this plan has a few recommended changes for uses, and I was excited and impressed by them and just wanted you to share those a little bit more with us.
Yes, thank you. We Oak Park just beat us to the punch, really is what it comes down to. So when we started this process in December of 19, we looked at the corridors that hadn't gotten as much attention. The DDA has created their downtown plan, and they've done a lot of amazing work there. But the other corridors hadn't gotten as much love and attention. So we really wanted to look at 11 Mile. And so one of the conversations we had early on was, well, let's open up the uses. We had, when they had created the 11 Mile district years ago, it was designed as a light industrial type corridor. And it really mimicked what was going on across the street in Oak Park. So that all worked. However, that area hasn't gotten the redevelopment, the energy that we were kind of hoping to spur in that area. So one of the conversations we had early on, was to open up the uses and just let the market and people decide what they want to have down there within reason and parking requirements and all that stuff. But really, if someone wants to open a coffee shop down there, let them. If there's enough for a restaurant, go for it. Whereas right now, you're kind of limited to the manufacturing and light industrial type uses. Oak Park just beat us there. They had a lot longer of a road to go. They were a dry city for many, many years, so they had to allow alcoholic establishments in their community. Then they had to do a master plan. Then they had to do ordinances. So, I mean, their process started many, many years ago. They just got there first. But we have liked that energy, and we certainly want to bring that over to our side.
I think that's very clear. It was communicated well, and then again with the ways that you showed us how we can have the implementation to have the ordinances reflect these values. It was fantastic. So I'm excited about the future that you helped outline. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mathis, anybody hopping up?
Not at this time, sir.
All right. Well, again, I kind of already made some comments throughout. I'm just incredibly proud of everybody that was a part of this, especially the residents and the volunteers. Not that city staff and our consultants were not, but there's a little bit of something on the other side where for our residents, it's much more on the volunteer capacity, and just the fact that we had so much engagement. And that is what makes Berkeley such a unique community. And it truly shows that we do care. And I'm also a very big fan of the implementation matrix, just because, for the reasons that you mentioned, we worked so hard on this for 2 years, and we completely reinvent how we do this. And then the question becomes, okay, now what next? You know, we worked on this so hard for 2 years, and now let's just take a break, and we'll put it over here, and we'll get to it. But that's not going to be the case. And it's not that it was the case before, but we did not have that matrix before. So as things came up, now we have pretty clear, consistent timelines and responsibilities. You know, who is responsible for getting us to this vision, is what this master plan is. So I am incredibly proud of everybody in our community, and I would like to call the roll, Ms. Mitchell, on R 3821, please.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, let's move on to item number 6, please.
Motion number M
Thank you, guys. Got it,
6921, matter of authorizing Hubble, Roth, and Clark, HRC, for engineering design services related to the 2022 sidewalk replacement program at a cost not to exceed $17,814.70 from the Sidewalk Fund, account number 470-938-821-000.
Is there a motion to approve M 6921?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Price with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our sidewalk program keeps on moving. We are now looking at the area north of 12 Mile, in between Greenfield and Coolidge. This normally would include, this does not include the cemetery, as that is completely private and they manage their own sidewalks, so it's bounded by those major streets. Our program has been a success up to this point. We formerly did 3 different sections this year. That was a rather large undertaking. That's why you see the scale of this process has been scaled back with staff's ability in mind. We are focusing solely on that area. We think there's a lot of benefits to being basically following consumers and the work that they're doing there now. It also work in conjunction with an existing full rebuild of a Kenmore and Cornwall section of the that's funded through the funded through the voter millage from 2018. So there's a lot of things coming together to bring you this section. It is the second to last section that we will have to work on, the last being what we would call section 1, which is our bottom corner there. HRC's proposal here, as you see, they will go through and they will evaluate each of those sidewalks for lifts or gaps 2 inches or more, which we would consider to be an immediate item that needs to be addressed due to the creation of potential for trip hazards and the like. So as we go through, we've had plenty of lessons learned that we come into this section with as we discuss with our residents what their expectations would be. When we go through and mark those, when we do that, and even what we're looking for, and keeping in mind the potential for rising and lifting of those slabs through the freeze-thaw cycle. All of which we bring all of that expertise into this section, and then we'll have that much more for our next section as well. So we do believe this will be yet another successful section. We are 2 years away from completing the entirety of the city. And as we mentioned in the past, the intent is to circle right back around and restart that process so that we're always and continually investing in Berkeley sidewalks. So there's a quick overview. Sean Young from our Department of Public Works will work hand in hand with HRC throughout this process if you have any questions for him as well.
Sean, welcome.
Good evening.
Anything you'd like to add?
I think he pretty much covered. It's just pile of papers that I don't know.
Looks like we got it all under control.
Yeah, I think so. It's
questions for Mr. Young. Councilmember Hennon?
First, just a comment, and I was glad to hear mentioning, taking lessons, learning from them, and doing better. I was a little disappointed in some of the oversight from HRC this year, or this past year on the project, and I've already discussed privately with them, and but just really want to emphasize that I want us to stay on top of things this year and as we go forward. The one question I had, I wanted to just confirm that there was a lot of concern about removing trees for sidewalks and the claims that they were healthy trees being removed. And, we had an independent evaluation done. They were all unhealthy, nothing was. I just wanted to see if we were going to be doing that independent evaluation again this year.
They're going to do the evaluation again. Any tree we remove, they evaluate, but we go ahead and they'll evaluate the trees that may be impacted by sidewalk replacements. They give a couple different options. One of them is actually go around the tree, and one of them is maybe try to narrow it a little bit, which is not favorable. And the other is just grind the roots and put the sidewalk back. What they look at is the tree a healthy tree to begin with. They're not removing the tree because of the sidewalk replacement. They're just making sure that the tree is a healthy tree. If it's unhealthy, we'll remove it before the sidewalk gets replaced.
Just to elaborate on that some, this past year we had not our normal arborist, but a third party come in and take a look at that. And I believe we're going to plan on doing that again in this upcoming year, just so people have some trust, that we aren't being taken advantage of by the arborists, claiming healthy trees need removed when they don't. There's going to be a third party that does that analysis for us.
Yeah, and I think that is an important point, and as Sean said, trees that are healthy are not coming down. Things will certainly happen. The trees that do come down or have had to come down were because they were not healthy, and maybe it wasn't something that was easy to see, but that's why we have an independent third party to also give us that feedback. It is incredibly important. Other questions or comments for Mr. Young? No? I mean, we're doing well. We're going to have some of these sidewalks, especially the ones that are in immediate need of repair, as you mentioned, the very, the trip hazards, the stroller knockers, the bike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of those things. We certainly don't want anybody to get hurt. Is there anybody, Tori, with us from HRC today? Are they with us virtually, or are they not here today? No? Okay.
No, I'm not seeing. Oh, yes, we do actually.
Yes.
Eddie's here.
Thought Eddie would be here.
Good evening, council. Yeah, I think Mr. Baumgartner, Gardner, sorry, and Mr. Young covered the basics. But again, I guess we do want to elaborate that the project, again, we're looking at and we're identifying the immediate areas, which are the 2-inch or more trip hazards, as we have been doing in the first 2 phases. So it will be the same scope of work. And of course, if there is a major, basically a major sidewalk issue next to it, which is just under immediate, which is about 1.5 inches, so we will address that at the time. But of course, the scope of the project remains to get the 2-inch immediate areas removed as part of phase 3. I think the trees, Sean covered that well. And again, right, Hart does their evaluation, but there is a third party arborist as well that will look at the results of Hart's reports. And again, I guess one last comment. With our proposal, as you see here with our schedule, what we plan on doing is to actually do the inspections as soon as possible, really. We'd like to do it within this month if we could start, and then into December. We want to try to avoid waiting for such a time when we have frozen ground and you get ground shifting with freeze thaw. So we want to do that different this time. And so our goal here is to try to get everything done by the holidays at the end of December as far as the inspection, and then move forward with reporting and then putting plans and specs together for a late winter bid.
Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate you being with us and giving us some additional context. Are there any questions for Eddie here from HRC? All right. Well, thank you, Sean and Eddie, for being here to continue give us updates and let us know where we're going moving forward. With that, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M6921?
Baker?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennon?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Valani?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 7 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M7021, matter of approving the purchase of a 2021 JCB telescopic handler with attachments at a total cost of $183,239.73, utilizing the Misdeal Cooperative Bid Purchasing Program.
Is there a motion to approve M7021?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Hennon with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple process notes prior to Mr. Young joining us again. As mentioned in the resolution itself, we are utilizing My Deal here, which is a cooperative purchasing program that's available to any municipality in the state that is actually state-run. And what it does is helps us buy as if we are doing group purchasing, basically. So it allows us to make one-off purchases, but benefiting from economies of scale. So this is how we ensure that we are making our tax dollars and the monies we collect through the water and sewer fund go as far as possible. And as noted in the memo here, this is a planned purchase for this budget year. So again, we are taking an active role in maintaining our fleet, making sure we have the best equipment possible to serve the residents of our community.
Sean?
So the machine we're replacing here, the JCB, there are current ones of 2007. It's a multi-use machine. We use it for anything from trimming trees, hanging banners, snow removal, loading trucks. It's really a very versatile machine, and it's time to replace it. It's 14 years is longer than we originally thought we'd have it. This is the My Deal contract. It's the same as we purchased some backhoes and some loaders and some other items through IIS equipment, and they're offering the same thing with JCB, and they're treating us basically like the state of Michigan pricing. That's what we're getting.
Is there anything in memoriam on the specs that you'd like to highlight? Maybe? Give us a little taste of what that 66-inch side tilt Q-fit carriage. How's that guy work? Is that what we wanted?
Yeah, that's
Not
all
the
we wanted.
68?
I think it's about 15 degrees.
I thought we were looking at the 68, but 66. If you're happy with that, then that's good. Questions for Mr. Young? Councilmember Hennon?
Yeah, I thought me sitting in this seat now that I was in charge of
I don't want to put
spec
anybody on the
questions.
spot.
I have two questions, easy non-spec questions. When do we expect that we would be able to take delivery?
This one rather quickly, because it's we're taking basically a stock unit. We're not doing really any changes to it. So they always have stock units coming in that may already be there, but if not, there's one about a month behind it. So it should be here before this winter.
And then would there be any training needed for the staff? And
Now, the machine itself is very, very similar to the one we have. It's the same. It's the replacement model for the one we have now. So we have a couple new guys that may need a little bit of training on it, but it should be very minimal.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Additional questions for Mr. Young? You did a great job, Sean.
Thank you.
Seeing no additional questions, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M7021?
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, we now move on to item number 8, please.
Motion number M7121, matter of authorizing the purchase of an Explorer 4x4 XLT, price K8D 200A, with some added options at a cost not to exceed $33,970 from Signature Ford of Owasso, Michigan, as part of their pricing under the Macomb County Cooperative Bid Program. This replacement is part of the city's capital equipment replacement program. Funds for this expenditure will come from account number 614-950-982-000.
Is there a motion to approve M7121?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem with support from Councilmember Gavin. Mr. Baumgart?
Mr. Mayor, a similar process note to our previous agenda item. We will go all over the state to find the best price possible. In this case, we were able to do so in the next county over. As you've seen from some previous agenda items over the years, we often will go to the Macomb County Cooperative Bid. They have very good pricing, especially on Ford vehicles for us. So Teresa's done an incredible amount of due diligence here. She has looked and spec'd out the best vehicle for the needs of her department, and she brings this for you today for your consideration after a great amount of prior work to this.
Thank you, Ms. McCarlton, and there are an awful lot of specs. This would have been a dream.
And I would like to note that I did have a visit from Councilmember Blanchard on Friday regarding this, and we clarified a question that he had.
He did tell me he was going to talk to you. And he said that I could trust that he has reviewed them.
Yes.
Already. Okay. Additional questions or anything else, Teresa, that you'd like to add outside of what?
I'd like to add. Obviously, you can see from the list price that obviously going through this cooperative, we save several $1,000s. We're coming in just under what we had budgeted, $35,000 for this vehicle. I am hoping that it is the last vehicle of the department for a city vehicle that we need to get that is not will not need a charging station right now. This is where we're at right now. This vehicle is kept on Parks and Recreation property, but I'm hopeful that when I come to you again, if I'm in this spot or whoever is in this spot getting a new vehicle, for now this is the best choice for where we're at and what we have available to us in terms of cost and keeping the vehicle at our facility. The Explorer that we have now will go to auction. I always work closely with Sean Young that anything that we are replacing goes or our other vehicle goes to auction. This is a pretty straightforward use. It typically stays in the city, so it stays in fairly good shape. I drive to the parks, if not daily, every other day. This vehicle's used for that. It's used for all of our special events. It's used for picking things up for camp or other events and things of that nature. It rarely leaves the city. If I have a meeting outside of the city, sometimes it does at that point. But all staff have access to it if they need it. And the additional items that we are getting are the cargo management system, a floor liner, extra key, and then the remote starter. The question that Councilmember Blanchard had was on the remote starter, and I did clarify that for him. That's all I got for you this evening.
Could have just told him it didn't matter anymore.
He was concerned that it didn't work with the model that we were getting and we had to upgrade a model, but I explained to him and he tried to order it through the factory. If you get it at the Ford dealership, it works with the model that we are getting.
And I tried to explain that to him as well. So I thank you. I thank you for that because he did bring that up as well. Additional questions for our director. Councilmember Hennon?
First, this is the first I've heard, but it's very promising to hear that we're going to try to move towards electric vehicles in the future. I'm very pleased to hear that, especially when we're with a city our size and mostly staying within the city, that, makes a lot of sense. Just the one question I have, again, is when do we expect to take delivery?
It's on about a 4 to 5 month wait, so March, April of 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Additional questions for our director? No? All right. Well, thank you, Teresa, for answering those questions. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M7121?
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. We now move on to item number 9, please.
Motion number M7221, matter of authorizing the city manager to approve the proposal from Hubble, Roth, and Clark to provide professional engineering services at a cost not to exceed $8,450 for Kiwanis Tot Lot CDBG sidewalk replacement. Funds for this expenditure will come from account number 614-950-821-000.
Is there a motion to approve M7221?
So moved, Your Honor.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Baker with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the council approved CDBG funds for Tot Lot sidewalk improvement last year, this was the agenda item previously in the agenda was the second half of that. So Teresa just started moving forward on having our engineering services get lined up in order to make sure that we are ready to implement those CDBG funds as quickly as possible. Part of that would be having HRC come in and do the appropriate groundwork to move forward on that. So as you will note, Teresa has a robust explanation in the memo in the packet this evening.
Anything else, Ms. McCarlton, you'd like to add?
I'm just super excited about this process. Our community development director and I, many months ago, met with Oakland County, explained to them how we wanted to use these CDBG funds in our parks to improve the sidewalks in our parks. And when we got the go-ahead from them, I think it's a really great use of these funds. I think it will improve walkability, access. There will be curb cuts on the streets. You know, a lot of our parks are neighborhood parks. So there's on-street parking, particularly at Tot Lot. It's only on-street parking, but there's no curb cut. And then try pushing a stroller or a wheelchair through the wood chips, which technically is considered ADA. It's certainly not as accessible as a concrete pathway will be. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is obviously the first step, utilizing HRC to then work with them to bid out the project, which should happen around February. The timeline is also in your packet. And then we would start this work in the spring. I do want to note, and the city manager is aware of this as well, HRC has estimated that this walkway will be anywhere from $24,000 to $30,000. Obviously, that can change. So the city will have to probably kick in some funds to get the work done based on what we're getting from CDBG. But we felt, of course, it was necessary to move forward. And again, I'm really excited to get this started.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. McCarlton on the Tot Lot? Councilmember Hennan?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great addition. But one thing I want to make sure we consider is not just access to the sidewalk from the street, but as it goes through the park, that people are, with mobility issues or in strollers or wheelchairs are able to get on and off the sidewalk within the park. I'd imagine like ramps or curb cuts or the sidewalk actually at grade, so it's easy to get on and off. So is that something we can look at as we're preparing the specs and part of the bid?
Absolutely. I think it's a really great point. And I know we have talked about it, and I'm glad that you said it here tonight. It's something that I will work with HRC because I think access to, whether it's picnic tables or the play, there's different areas of play structure, and there is one that has a ramp that we put in around the border. So I think making it easier to access those spaces is really important. I think, obviously I'll work with HRC and the engineers on that. I think whether at grade or something to make it more accessible is a really great start.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions for Ms. McCarlton? You've done such a wonderful job explaining things and answering questions. And as you mentioned at the beginning, this is something that will be a very important and needed addition to the Tot Lot, and something that we are very excited about, especially those of us who have frequented that and may run into some of those issues from time to time, especially with the wood chips, which are technically okay, but
and you will see again when we award the bid. So you will see us again, or me again.
Yes, thank you. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M7221?
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Solani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. We move on to item number 10, please.
Motion number M7321, matter of authorizing the city manager to execute a contract for senior home chore snow removal service with Tinsley Landscape and Hardscape LLC, 30728 Osmond Street, Madison Heights, Michigan, 48071. $4,135 will be paid from account number 275-940-818-044, and remaining expenses will be paid from 614-105-818-000.
Is there a motion to approve M7321?
So moved.
That was a chorus.
Take your pick. I'm going to take Mayor Pro Tem because she's next to me. They make the motion. I heard that one first. And Councilmember Price, you win the support. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little bit of background
Very
information.
excited about this on council.
This is an exciting program. It's an annual item and it's a great service to our seniors. It is, as the motion tells you, mostly funded by CDBG, but the city does believe in the importance of this program enough that it supplements those funds as well as needed. And we know what a vital service this is for those that cannot do it themselves, and we have made that resource commitment to making sure this program never falls to the wayside. So kudos to Teresa and her staff. It reflects their passion as well as the hard work that they put into making sure that 40 households every year are serviced by this.
Yeah, it's an incredible program. Ms. McCarlton, what else can you tell us about our bidder this year?
Yeah, so, well, this year, if you recall, last year, we initially went out to bid, we got 0 bids, and then we went out to bid again, and we were fortunate to get one. This year, I want to thank Dan McMinn, who does all of our senior programs. He's our senior program and special event manager. He really worked hard to make sure that as many companies as possible saw and knew that this bid was available. Along with him, we administer this program together, and it is a very time-consuming thing. So we want to make it as easy on the seniors and as easy on the contractor as possible. So again, I'm grateful to him for making sure that people saw this bid. We did get 2 bidders. This was the low bidder. This particular company is relatively new to snow removal, but I spoke to references of other jobs that they had done, and they could not have been more glowing, right? Sometimes you talk to references and you kind of get they're good, but sometimes you get they're really great. They do absolutely wonderful work. And that's what I got from the references that I spoke to about Tinsley Landscape. They also came to the pre-bid meeting, and immediately afterward, both Mr. McMinn and I said, just the feeling that we got for them, they seem to know seniors. They seem to get what we were doing here. So again, it's always a little bit of a chance when you're going with kind of a newer-ish company, and again with this program, but we have a hand in a lot of what's happening, and I feel confident awarding this bid to them at this point, and doing it a couple weeks ahead of hopefully that first
Right.
snow. I might have jinxed it, sorry. Again, with this program, we do accept up to roughly 40 homes. Usually throughout the year, a couple are added, a couple subtract, a family member decides to do it for them. Currently, we do have space for about 10 more homes. So if people are interested, they can call the community center. That number is 248-658-3470. They can request an application. We send it to them immediately, and then they send it back. It is income based. The seniors will have a copay based on HUD income limits of $5, $10, or $15, and then the city obviously contributes that remaining amount with the CDBG funds, and then that paperwork and all of that is submitted to the county through my office. So again, if you couldn't see when we were honoring Mr. Renaud, seniors in this community mean a whole lot to us, both myself, Mr. McMahon, and I know all of you. And this is a safety, it's an access, and it's a mobility issue. And so I am grateful that the city continues to use the CDBG funds, but also if we go over that amount to help to keep the program going.
Well, thank you, Ms. McCarlton, and thank you, Mr. McMinn, for everything you do in your role with our seniors as well. Teresa, do you think the big issue with getting multiple bids is just the scale of this? Is that?
Yeah, I think it's scale. I think it's the nature of like the actual work. I know that in years past, sometimes they would split up the bids. We've had great success with some smaller vendors. We've had good success with some bigger ones that then got really big, and then that kind of, you know, I'm not exactly sure what's to account for it. I'm always hopeful. Last year was, I would say, a pretty okay year, and I'm hopeful for this year.
Well, there may have been additional challenges last year.
Sure.
Potentially for
Sure.
small businesses. So hopefully that was not the norm moving forward. And hopefully that this company, Tinsley, that we'll be working with will obviously do a great job, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and bid again next year to be able to continue this incredibly important service in our community. Questions for Ms. McCarlton? Or Mr. McMahon while he's here? Poor guy sitting by himself out there. Councilmember Hennon?
Yeah, just something that the mayor's comments made me think of, that if any other neighboring municipalities are doing a similar program, that maybe we cooperate in, you know, one bid to serve all of us. I'm sure that's administrative headaches, I don't know, but it's just thinking out loud, something I just thought of that maybe would help us in future years.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I think something we could. I know a number of communities ran programs like this in the past and do not anymore. I know there are still a couple. Oak Park, for instance, still does, because we've spoken to as many communities as possible and said, "Who are you using?" We have people call us and same thing. So yeah, I think it's something that we could explore in future years.
Councilmember Price?
Just gratitude. Talking to residents, I know that this is really a game changer for many of them, having this access, and that the city is able to provide it with you and Mr. McMahon at the helm. So thank you so much for all that you do to make this program happen for our seniors.
Thank you.
Councilmember Villani?
I just want to take this opportunity to remind our residents that if the program does reach capacity and there's still a need, that earlier this year, the CEAC launched the Berkeley Community Resources page on Facebook. So there is an opportunity for residents to post that they need help with resources or a task. So if you are at capacity, that would be a chance for them to get some assistance that may be well needed as well. So this is our first winter with the page up, so we can see how that works.
Excellent, thank you. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, well, thank you, Ms. McCarlton, and thank you, Mr. McMinn. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M7321?
Price,
Yes.
Villani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 11?
Resolution number R3921, matter of designating the time and place of city council meetings and its rules and order of procedure.
Is there a motion to approve R3921?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support from Councilmember Villani. Mr. Baumgarten, how do we meet?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I know council knows this, but for the millions watching at home, each new council adopts at their first meeting their rules of procedure that will guide them for the next 2 years or the duration of that iteration of council. One thing that we started last year, or maybe a couple of years ago now, was likewise adopting a calendar for that entire year, or for that entire term as well. So we've been in the habit now of adopting a 2-year calendar. So you see both of which reflected in the packet this evening. Starting first with the rules of procedures, there are 14 sections in the rules of procedures. This governs how many aspects of how the council operates, everything from electronic meetings to the language by which the record will officially appear in, and everything in between. Council has had this now for a little while and has reviewed the sections, and I want to call attention to Section 6, which is the section filling vacancies for boards and commissions. In review, as council members reviewed this, I received suggested language from Councilmember Hennon regarding the process by which we follow. As you'll notice in the Section 6 there, the outlined areas, particularly Section 5, Council has gotten away from that in a couple of years. It just has yet to be reflected in the rules and procedures themselves. He suggests that we codify our existing practice. Council members receive those applications well in advance. Basically, as they come in, council members are alerted to new applications being available for their review by the city clerk's office. When it comes time for a vacancy, when it appears, council members review those, go through their own process by which they would select a rank ordered options for filling that vacancy. Those are then transmitted to myself. I use that information from those individual preferences to create a slate that is then presented to the public as well as the council for their consideration and potential appointments. That has been our process now. We believe it has worked well enough to finally codify. Councilmember Hannon has provided me some suggested language, but it largely outlines what I've said this evening. So, council members, the new section 5 would read as such. Each council member may provide a ranked list of their choices for each vacancy from a list of applicants. The choices may be given privately to the city manager at least on the Wednesday prior to the next meeting where this item will appear. And then section 6 has been suggested. At the next regular meeting or special meeting called for that purpose, the city manager must present a slate of candidates for the vacancies based on recommendations from council members. Council may vote on the slate as a whole, or any council member may ask that a vacancy be considered separately from that slate. Any individual receiving 4 or more yes votes may be considered appointed to said board or commission. So, again, largely codifying what has been our existing practice, what I feel has been a successful practice based on the fantastic feedback I always get from council members in advance of an agenda item appearing on there. So, each time we come to this, we tend to end up tweaking some part of it. I believe Councilmember Hannon did speak with Mayor Turbeck about this, and I believe this is an appropriate change to codify for the rules and procedures this evening.
Yeah, Councilmember Hannon and I spoke a couple of times about this because it is what we have been doing recently, and we wanted to make sure that it was more reflected in here. And personally, part of my reason to wanting to change this as well, not because it's not what we're doing, we want it codified, but it's incredibly difficult when, the way that it's outlined here, that a volunteer can not be chosen publicly or not get the 4 votes publicly. And that's, I would never want to do that to any resident because they're trying to volunteer. They want to volunteer. They're willing to volunteer their time and their talents. And so the way that we have been operating, I think, has been very efficient and has not put us in that spot. I think it's important. Councilmember Hannon did share the language. I looked at it today and I said that I agreed with it to the city manager to send out to everybody as well so you guys can see it. It's not a substantive change for us. It's how we've been conducting our business, but it does clarify the way that we are going. Is that fair representation, Councilmember Hannon, what we talked about?
Yeah, and as you had discussed in previous councils before I was on council even, it would sometimes lead to just very awkward situations, and sometimes just because the way it's written, you just go straight down the list. So it's as soon as you had the number of people appointed, you're then done, and you may not even consider people that are further down on the list that may actually be more qualified. So I appreciate this change.
Just on that, any feedback, Councilmember Baker?
Thank you, Your Honor. My only disappointment is that this doesn't give any consideration to the liaison or the existing officers.
That's in there.
Is that there? Where is that?
That's still recommendation to be requested from the board or commission where the vacancy exists. So we're changing down at the bottom how we operate.
Sure, but it seems as though that is getting lost in the mechanics of the voting process to ensure that the right folks get to see it. So anyway, just wanted to, especially when we had the conversation recently about the historical committee, we wanted to ensure the public that it went through the liaison and the officers first.
Yep.
Before it, because if there was some issues or challenges there, it would be their responsibility to ensure that those are vetted properly before it gets into the general broader process, so.
Well, in my mind, this is not to change that at all, actually. That's the first step in the process. This is just when council members then have to give their choices to the city manager. So you will still have that feedback and information prior to you making any recommendation or decision.
Yes, part of what would inform, when I'm making a choice would be the recommendation from the board and the liaison. So, that would inform, when I am making my own selections beforehand. So, I think it still has that input. We still have the final say, but that is one of the inputs of many that I would use.
Yeah, I do agree, Councilmember Baker, that is incredibly important, and that's not something that is being changed. All we're changing is just the final, when council does, so that we, again, don't have a situation that I know you and I have dealt with in the past from time to time. But does that, I certainly am not trying to.
That's fine.
Change that in any way.
Yeah, I think just having a more conscious effort on that first step is crucial. I've seen far too many occasions where we bypass that and just council exerts its will without, we saw that in prior DDA appointments, that the board's recommendation was completely sidestepped and ignored. And so I think that I'm glad, it remains the top rule. I just, top step. I just wish we'd treat it as such.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
think now if we're making sure that we are acting according to what we have here, I think it's incumbent on all of us.
Time will tell.
To make sure that does happen.
Yeah, time will tell.
Okay. Additional questions or comments on how we meet and how our meetings operate or how
Mayor-
we fill vacancies? Councilmember Price?
Thank you. I actually just had a question about this process that we just discussed, rank choices and send to city manager by the Wednesday before the meeting. Was that Wednesday deadline, was that suggested by Councilmember Hennon, or was that what you asked for from your point of view? Since
I had
many of
asked
us-
for that portion of it. There have been times in the past where we've gotten, sort of a running title, and we've got some in the past where we've had to ask council members, hey, we need a tiebreaker here, or we haven't heard from everybody just yet. And that sometimes has impacted our ability to deliver the packet to the public at large. So we try to set that deadline from a staff standpoint so that we can get council ample time to consider that, and if they want to talk to those individuals or whatever their process entails. I just want to make sure council has enough time to implement that.
Okay, so that leaves a little bit of a buffer for you if you need to reach back out for a follow-up or, okay. I
It
understand.
does, yes, ma'am.
Because
Thank you.
often we'll have our Tuesday meetings, agenda meetings, and we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And so at least having those by Wednesday gives us the opportunity to get the packets out and have everything ready to roll in a timely manner.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions, comments? We seem to have gotten through tonight relatively okay-ish, so I don't know that we've had to change too much else. Obviously, we do have the electronic portion in here, as that remains an option. Everybody else happy with how we conduct our meetings? Or at least content, maybe not? Councilmember Hennon?
I am gonna, not for tonight, but I am gonna propose maybe at a future time that we step away from Robert's rules. They are overly complicated. They're made for much larger bodies, and there are alternatives that still get the same sort of motion and, the gist of what we do, but we don't have to have such, complex technical knowledge on, Robert's rules, which is just overkill for, boards our size. So.
I think that's a tremendous conversation for 2 years. I think we spent 2 years studying that.
Form a committee and.
I understand, and I know we've talked about this as well, and I've talked to the city attorney as well about some various other ways to look at. Personally, I don't necessarily think that we're super strict on the Roberts rules, and I just lost everything I had up here. But I think it does allow us to conduct at least an orderly meeting at this point, but it's something we can have additional conversations on in the future. Anything else? Okay. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on R 3921?
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Is there a motion to, or sorry, Ms. Mitchell, let's go to number 12. I was already jumping in there.
Motion number M7421, matter of authorizing the city manager to sign the application for additional service credit purchase for Ron Gabriel, approving 5 years of additional service credit. This service credit purchase is allowed by the MERS plan document for deferred vested members, which would allow for this service credit purchase at 100% of the cost to the employee.
Now, is there a motion to approve M7421?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Villani with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Mr. Baumgart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item comes to us periodically. It is an option that's available to all Merit System employees. And in this particular case, it was an individual who was a Merit System employee prior to transitioning to the public safety retirement system. So Mr. Ron Gabriel began his career not as a sworn officer, but serving the city in a different capacity. And he still retains the opportunity to purchase those additional years of service in order to give him a better benefit, essentially. So with that, the Finance Director has included the appropriate background information needed for this item, as well as the adopted section of the merit system, which is approved by council, as well as a memo outlining this for each of you this evening. And I'm not sure if Mark was able to join us on the call for any additional information or not, but he has included a memo outlining those items for you. And once again, this is something that the council has seen a couple times in the past. So we continue to feel it's a mutual benefit to both the city as well as our active employees as well.
Ms. Mathis, is Mr. Pollack with us virtually?
I am
There he
here.
is. All right.
All
Anything
right.
you'd like to add, Mr. Pollack?
No, Matt covered it very well. This is slightly outside the norm because the ones you've approved in the past generally have a cost share method to them because the individuals purchasing as not as a deferred vested member, but generally as an active member. And in this case, MERS does allow this, and it is certainly something that, again, we do encourage. And in the long run, it'll be good for Ron and for the city because he'll have a combined retirement with public safety and with the city merit MERS retirement. So it's a good option for both sides.
And I think, as you have both pointed out, this is, the cost is paid by the employee. Again, why this is a little bit different than some of the other ones that we've seen recently because of the fact that he's now PSO, Ron Gabriel, and he was not at the time. Again, does not mean that Ron's going to try to sneak out of here any earlier, because I don't think anybody would let that happen, but it is something that certainly makes sense and is allowed in the contract and in a decision that if he wants to do, he certainly has the right to exercise. Any additional questions for Mr. Pollack? No? All right. Then, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M7421?
Baker?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennon?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Villani?
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Are we up to communications already? All right, well, we are just going to start at the far right today and work our way around as I get used to slightly changed seating arrangements. And I already put it in my notes that way, so Councilmember Hennon, you are up first.
All right. With the Zoning Board of Appeals, their next meeting will be Monday, December 13th at 7 p.m. They're going to be hearing one case where a duplex that was grandfathered in allowed their status to lapse, but now they're requesting a use variance to resume the use of the property as a duplex. For the tree board, we've confirmed that in late November, December, that there'll be 214 new trees planted. And then in the spring, there'll be approximately 100 more trees planted. Those 100 additional ones funded through the grants we recently received. And I wanted to recognize Sandy Sikora. She'll be stepping down from the tree board after almost 14 years of service. The tree board's next meeting is January 24th. And then just a quick vaccine update. The latest data I have from the health department as of October 18th, 75% of Berkeley adults are fully vaccinated, and that's up 2% from the previous month. And 61% of children 12 and up are fully vaccinated, and that's up 5% from the previous month. So, and then now a reminder, I'm sure many people have been eagerly waiting, children 5 and up are now eligible to start getting vaccinations, and many adults are eligible for boosters. But I also want to caution that Michigan, the county, and even Berkeley, we're approaching daily case numbers equal to, the 2 previous past peaks. So not time to let our diligence down, so please still be careful. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Price?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Turbrack. I just also want to thank again Jack Blanchard for his 10 years of service on City Council and the continued service that he provides as our volunteer emergency manager. I want to say congratulations to Council members Baker and Hennon for re-election. I look forward to continuing to work with you on Council. And congratulations to Councilmember Villani. I've greatly enjoyed seeing your success on the Citizens Engagement Advisory Committee, and I'm excited to see the energy, ideas, and expertise that you'll bring to work on Council.
Thank you.
I want to let everyone know that the library is currently accepting donations of $450 for tribute and memorial benches to be placed around the library. What a wonderful way to honor a loved one. You can call or email the library if you're interested in participating in this program. The Beautification Advisory Committee will be doing something a little bit different this year for their Holiday Spirit Awards. Instead of recognizing individual homes for their holiday displays, the committee will be looking for the city blocks that best capture the holiday spirit in Berkeley. So collaboration between neighbors is greatly encouraged this year as we use lights and other creative ways to bring cheer to our neighborhoods in the winter. And speaking of creative ways to bring cheer, I want to thank the DDA and all the participating businesses and volunteers for an amazing Berkeley celebration. It was fantastic. My family and I enjoyed it all so much, and we're looking forward to seeing what's next with the holiday months to come. So thank you for that work as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. To build on that, thank you very much. The DDA board met last week's Wednesday, the 10th, and I'll echo the comments and congratulations to everybody involved, the volunteers, the committees, the businesses, and the visitors from within the city and from across the region to come and enjoy all that Berkeley had to offer. The Merry Month is coming up real soon. The calendar will be soon available that highlights all of the dates throughout this final stretch here till Santa time, which will be amazing. The board has also talked about the Berkeley Plaza Park being constructed on Coolidge, and in partnership with the library, the extension and contribution of many additional benches and bike racks throughout Coolidge and a 12-mile. They're actively looking at the designs right now, and they're very excited to move forward with some proposals to begin to bring those to our great city. And for more information, of course, downtownberkeley.com. Historical met last week as well on the 9th. Thanks again to everybody who attended the 30th anniversary of the museum. That special event was very well attended, and there are still a few free giveaways available if folks haven't yet been to the museum. I've been told that within this next week, this year's holiday ornament will be available. It's a popular item, so you might want to swing by the museum or City Hall or the library or other places where it is going to be available because you'll want to add that to your festive decorations, I'm sure. But don't try to bring a credit card because we still can't take your credit card yet. So cash or check, please, while we try to figure that out. On the technology front, they meet this Wednesday, the 17th. And rather than talk about Alexa, I'd just like to share, building on the master plan conversation and some other dialogue. We've been in conversation for several months now with DTE, with several vendors of electric charging equipment, with DPW, Parks and Rec, City Hall, the library, to talk about bringing electric vehicle infrastructure, charging machinery into the city DTE has some incredible programs that are available for municipalities like ours, and so we know all about that. We also have information on several of the different kinds of equipment that might be available and that would provide the best service to our residents and businesses. And then, as mentioned earlier, hinted at, the electrification of our fleet is something that DTE is also able to help support as well. So we're very excited to potentially bring those capabilities here to the city. And it was the philosopher Plato, not the stuff that you can mush around in your fingers. The beginning is the most important part of the work. And so I want to congratulate the former council and Councilmember Blanchard for all of his service. And congratulations to this council. Hello there. For the incredible journey that we are embarking upon for the next 2 years. Congratulations all around on returning to serve. And it's going to be a grand time. I want to thank everyone. And onward we go with the 39th council.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. The Ho 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 Bingo Spectacular for seniors is Tuesday, December 14th from 12 to 2 p.m. at the Community Center. You may register for this holiday bingo fun for $5, which includes pizza and 2 bingo cards. More bingo cards are available for purchase if 2 aren't enough. Rides from Oxford Park Towers are available, but please remember to register for the event because space is limited. Are you a Berkeley senior who would like a visit from Old St. Nick? All you have to do is register for a boxed lunch, and it'll be delivered to you on December 9th from Santa Claus himself. The cost of the boxed lunch is $5, and it includes other holiday treats. Vacation camps are running this year at the Community Center. Contact the center at 248-658-3470 or go to recreation.berkeleymish.org to register for these camps held during the winter break at the end of December. New sessions of adult and youth programs begin soon. Check recreation.berkeleymish.org for more information and signups. And new this year is youth indoor tennis offerings. I'd like to offer congratulations to incumbent council members Baker and Hennon on your victories and to welcome new council member Villani. And finally, I'd like to wish my husband Mike a happy, happy birthday. I'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you, and happy birthday, Mike Dean.
God.
Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know Aaron is not physically in the council chambers right now, but if
Tell people that.
Oh, yeah, we're all here. Party.
well, I'm assuming she's in her office listening intently to the rest of this, but just to say a thank you to Aaron for all the work that she has done for the city over these years. She's been a real asset and really did help guide her department with a real sense of purpose. And so certainly sad to see Erin go, but wish her nothing but success and enjoyment in her future endeavors. So Environmental Advisory Committee meets this Thursday, the 18th at 6:30 on the Public Safety Conference Room on the second floor. Planning Commission next meets on the 23rd at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. Like my other colleagues, I'd like to say congratulations to Mayor Turbrack, council members Baker and Hennon, and also congratulations to new council member Villani as well. So, and then a thank you to the American Legion, the VFW, and Public Safety for a great Veterans Day event. It's just always an incredibly moving event that's put on every year. And so I just want to thank everyone for their efforts there. Good luck, and echoing what Jack Blanchard, I'm sure, would say, safety first to all who went out for opening day of deer season. And also a happy birthday to the gentleman who always keeps our Mayor Pro Tem on her toes, Mike. So,
Gosh,
thank you.
I thought you were going to say under control, and you would have.
No.
Wow, thank you
No.
for on her toes.
No way.
Councilmember Villani.
Well, first off, I just want to thank my colleagues and fellow council members for the very warm welcomes and also congratulate both Councilmember Hennon and Baker on your re-elections as well. I'm excited to work with all of you. My comments are short. I just also want to echo what Liz from the Berkeley Cares Food Pantry shared at the beginning. It is my understanding that the pantry is good on turkeys, but everything else that goes with the turkey dinners, they are still very short on those items. And they do have those items listed on their pages. So if your family is fortunate enough to have a little bit of extra to be able to give, and you can get that to them in the next few days before the boxes, I know they would be very, very grateful for that. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you. I want to also congratulate the 39th Council, those that were newly elected as well as those that were re-elected. You'll be happy to know that the election was run so perfectly that our Board of Canvassers had no notes for the city clerk office whatsoever. And no notes may sound like a low bar, but it is an incredibly high one, not only to reach, but to bound right over, which is exactly what our city clerk did. It is one very hectic day, but in the case of Victoria and her staff, it's preceded by months of hard work and preparation to make sure that that day goes incredibly smoothly. And when things do happen, that not only is she knowledgeable, but her deputies knowledgeable, and all the volunteers are knowledgeable in the ways to make any issue become as small as possible. She's a fantastic leader, and we all benefit from the expertise that she brings to our election. So thank you, Madam Clerk, and it's not just me saying that is backed by our County Board of Canvassers as well. So, and thank you for all the volunteers that made Election Day happen.
Well, thank you, and Madam Clerk, is there anything else that you would like to add coming off of a very successful election?
There is. Thank you for the kind words. I want to thank everyone, all the residents who came out to cast their ballots in the election. Total turnout was 26%, and about 78% of the votes were cast via absentee ballot. I want to thank our team. You know, it's a true group effort. I want to thank Deputy Clerk Gina Harold and Election Specialist Ashley Mers for their tremendous work, and it is, you know, months and months of preparation. And Tori Mathis and City Manager Baumgarten, who always jumps in and helps, and also former City Councilman Jack Blanchard pitched in and helped out that day, which was greatly appreciated. And all of our departments help out, but I want to give a special shout out to the DPW. They just do a tremendous job setting up, tearing down, you know, so school is in session the next morning, no one would even know. And they really went above and beyond this year. And I really have a heartfelt thank you to all our election workers. They are just tremendous, and they really stepped up this year. There might not be as much glitz and glamour for a local election for some, but, you know, I really appreciate those who come out for a local election. And we did even have some workers who subbed in last minute due to some existing worker emergencies. And I'm just so thankful. And lastly, I want to thank the residents. This is my 5th election now, and it's really the residents of Berkeley that make my job an honor. To serve. They're just so thoughtful and, you know, actively participating, and it's just a wonderful community to serve. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, you've been very quiet today outside of somebody trying to steal your jacket. Mr. Christ, anything
Your Honor,
like to add?
just one item. A little over 2 weeks ago, the Michigan House passed House Bill 4722, an issue which affects all communities across the state in that it allows short-term rentals to be considered as permitted uses in all residential districts. That still has to be considered by the state Senate. It's an item that we are continuing to watch and will continue to advise the city manager and council with respect to any further developments on that. But it does impact all communities with respect to local control.
It does, and I thank you. That is certainly something that we are also paying close attention to as it continues to move, and we'll see what the Senate has to say and hopefully make the correct decision on that. But thank you for being with us this evening as well.
Thank you.
I too want to welcome our new council member, Jessica Villani, and congratulate our returners, Councilmember Baker and Councilmember Hennon, and recognize again Jack and Tim. I know we talked about them at the beginning, but just congratulate them and thank them for everything that they have done for our community. Since Jack is not here, we didn't get a chamber update this time, so I told him I would help him out there. The chamber hosted the annual State of the Cities on October 28th, and if you missed it, you can still check it out on the chamber's website. I want to congratulate Robin Coden of Some Girls Boutique as the 2021 Business Person of the Year, and Susan Rogel at Vitrine as the Business of the Year. Incidentally, I will neither confirm nor deny that some individuals, including one who bears a passing resemblance to me, did in fact engage in a TikTok sort of dance, among other things. If you would like to see that, somebody mentioned 1 million hits, or 1 million viewers. I think it's on the verge of going viral, so you might want to check that out. Prior to our next meeting, we will have, as was mentioned earlier, a great celebration with the Holiday Lights Parade, the Santa Drive-By, and the tree lighting on Saturday, December 4th. Santa will begin cruising around our community around 11 a.m. There will be updates on his location and whereabouts throughout the city, and the parade begins right around 5:30. Once the parade is complete, the tree lighting will again happen at the gazebo, again because we expect a larger crowd around the gazebo, and with what we heard as it relates to COVID cases right now, we definitely ask that everybody wears a mask, especially as we get a little bit closer, for your safety and for the safety of others. It's an incredibly special night in our community, and I would hate for that to be ruined with illness over the holiday season. And we certainly don't want Santa to get sick either, because he has very important work to do later on that month. And lastly, we can finally say that Danny Fenster is on his way home after his release earlier this morning. Danny, of course, grew up in Huntington Woods and attended Berkeley schools, was unjustly detained and arrested in Myanmar nearly 6 months ago. In fact, was sentenced to 11 years of hard labor just last week. It took far longer than it should have, but finally, UN Ambassador and former Governor Bill Richardson was able to negotiate his release. And as we come to that time of year where we focus on giving thanks and being thankful, I think we can all agree that we are very thankful that Danny will be home for Thanksgiving this year. And as we give thanks for him coming home and we celebrate Thanksgiving with all of our loved ones next week, it's a time of hope, and let's just continue hoping that maybe, just maybe, the Lions get a victory this season. And slightly closer, slightly closer. With that, we are not going to have to suspend the rules at Jessica's first meeting, which I thought may be an issue, so she dodges a bullet there.
Nice.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion to adjourn by Mayor Pro Tem. I'll let Councilmember Villani support that. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Villani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Turbeck.
Yes, the November 15th, 2021 meeting of the 39th Council of Berkeley is adjourned.
And that's a wrap.